Sit back, get comfy, and I don't know, maybe make yourself a sandwich or something, because today we got 45 minutes chock-a-block full of tutorials. Yeah, I'm excited too. You know, you'd think that after getting the fourth party member, learning about demon negotiation, bringing back that old mechanic, even seeing a little bit of old school Kaneko art as well as some of the new stuff with Belphegor and Carmen. It's like, what more could he possibly be doing? Well, I'll have you know that it is impossible to assault the castle if you don't get to learn a little bit about that guy that sold Ryuji his model gun. It's just impossible. This is a cute line. Can't be done. But, yeah. So, anyway, hey, we still got 2 weeks regardless. I mean, Kamoshida's threat is still merely a threat and has yet to be acted upon. And the way that I usually do these sort of dungeons in the Persona games, is tackling them pretty much as soon as possible, even if it requires a little bit of grinding and maybe a little bit of neglecting your confidant social link, Kizuna, whatever you want to call it. Despite how many characters tell you not to do that, and that it's really not a big deal, and that the only day that really matters is the last one in that time limit. I don't know, I guess from like an RP, role-playing perspective, it just was something that I wanted to do. I mean, pretty much, in the previous games, you were either saving people or saving the world to a certain extent, in fact, I think in Persona 3. So it's, it felt better, I suppose, from a character perspective to do it as soon as possible, even though gameplay-wise, it doesn't actually matter. And you can really see how Morgana became the incredible cat burglar that he is today with this sort of level of stealth. Also, yes, I'm sure as you can probably guess, you don't introduce a punky-looking doctor in the first act without having it get paid off in the third. I believe that was something that was said about Chekhov's plays. And the first example of somebody actually referencing the psychotic breakdown syndrome, or whatever you call it. I think it's the exact same word in Japanese, and they're just kind of like referring to it slightly different here, rather than, you know, being like a specific syndrome. But hey, you haven't seen that since like the conductor got affected by that back in like episode 2 or something. Now, I know we're going to be going for some black market doctoring, but I don't really think that they have skills with a veterinary work. Then again, I suppose if the money's good enough, hey, you know, they're both animals, aren't they? But yeah, it's still kind of surprisingly soon that is getting paid off here. But it is my favorite part in Persona games, wherein Ryuji tells you something you already know and actually learned very recently. And, being the voice of reason here, and honestly kind of moving up the ladder as being most valuable party member, especially after Morgana turned out to not know nearly as much as he claimed, and, well, Ryuji is, you know... Anne, I'm trying to compliment you here. Can you at least... every character in this game is the same. I hate it. Yeah, we're going up the roof and blah, blah, blah. Gotcha. And in fact, I can just say gotcha right here. But wait, first, can you tell me where exactly the hideout is? I'm gonna fine you if you're late. That is actually accurate to the Japanese version, which I guess is why it sounds a little bit awkward there when you put it in English. And yes, this little bit here. Really cements in my mind that this is supposed to be like a heightened form of reality. You know, spirit of rebelliousness permeates the entire universe, making it something like a satire or whatever. Because that seems like that was a little extreme unless we were dealing with a character who was actually villainous. Except with the way it's going, I'm fairly certain that all adults are villainous. And also it's a secondary way to teach you a little bit more about the meta visual novel related stats as opposed to the RPG ones. Because they are separate. And never the twain shall meet. Yep, Ryuji. Unfortunately, not going to be doing that right now. That's right. I would have a little bit more sympathy for Ryuji here, but he was the one that was kind of preventing us from doing this last time. Because that's how this game do. And you'd think the Persona would be enough to deal with this. I mean, they are both weapons and they can heal. So the idea that we have to, instead take time to prepare with weapons and medicine is a little bit ridiculous. Besides, even though this is hard mode, I think I can probably get by without stocking up too hard on that, but hey, that's how the plot goes. And yes, this is what I was referring to earlier when I said that we gotta go learn about the guy that... There. Yeah.
Yosh.
And of course, he will not be handling that side of he will not be handling that side of things because I will also be accompanying him when he does it. After all, I am the leader of this group. You know me well. Finally back to kick some Personae. Personae? I refer to them as personas in this game. Even though I think being a Greek word, multiple should be Personae. Anyway, this is the sort of pedantic topics that you get into when you're on part 13 of a series and still haven't started. Yeah. I mean, you'd think that, being the whole cat burglar that you are, it would actually be easier if you went by yourself and just stole things. Oh, yeah, also, why is the, tense music playing in the background right now? It seems entirely unnecessary. Yeah, I know. Yes? Wait, you didn't have... That wasn't your plan before we got here? This is absurd. Every other Persona protagonist just went over to the pharmacy and then bought a bunch of, I don't know, Sudafed or whatever. I guess that helps you restore your SP or something. Why not?
Yosh.
How indeed. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go talk to her and she's going to give us medication. In fact, what I explicitly chose here was that we should just be honest. I mean, why not? It's like we're going to be lying to her. It's like it's going to sound like we're lying either way. So I can't believe it's like, no, that's not good enough. Do it again and do it better this time. It's like, really? Really, game? You're just going to railroad me, just make me go and... whatever. All right, finally have the protagonist. I mean, this has been something that I've talked about before, where essentially, despite the... So, from the very start of the game, it seemed like what they wanted to do was that the previous protagonists of the Persona series, which, if you want a lot of plosives in a sentence, that's a good way to do it, were all very squeaky clean, heroic types, and you could tell that what they were trying to do with Persona 5 was they were trying to go for a little bit more of a anti-hero type of characters, characters that are on the fringes of being villains, because they're taking down people that are even worse, all that sort of stuff. But up until this point, it has just been not like that. I mean, the major sin of the protagonist was that he pushed down a drunk guy who was essentially trying to kidnap a woman. And even Ryuji, who is supposed to be something of a delinquent, is really just, likes the lifestyle and the fashion of it, rather than actually being a true delinquent himself. And that kind of comes to this part here, where there's another good example of that, where essentially what we're doing is we're meeting with an unscrupulous doctor to get black market medication. Not drugs, just, basic medicine. Because, well, I think that if you were actually getting, like, syringes of morphine or something, that might be a little bit difficult to explain in a gameplay sense. I suppose, when your character's a drug addict. But, instead, it's like, what happens here is, yeah, she is an unscrupulous doctor. and everything. But in this scene, especially, they do everything possible to try to make her not be that unscrupulous. And in fact, as it goes on, to be more and more like, you know, just some sort of misunderstood genius who is just being kept down by the man because of her unconventional methods or something like that. Also, maybe that completely freaky poster in the background there, too, which is, like, what is that even supposed to be? Anyway, I mean, she doesn't even offer, like, hey, so you're getting some Oxycontin or something? It's like, nah, it's just, I mean, here, I think it's this line specifically. Oh, I mean, yeah, there's that one, but no, I think it's the next thing she says here. Oh, come on, quit making me look like a fool. Yep, it's her private practice. All the medicine she dispenses is all legal, have a license to make her own formulas. She sells them at legitimate hospitals. It's like, oh, come on, guys. It's just like, you finally had the chance to have the character do something at least, like, illegal, and I mean, here, I'm even trying to, like, play it up a little bit, but it's all, you know, legal and fine to be used, and it's that sort of thing where basically the villains in these games are extremely evil, like, honestly kind of ludicrously evil with the just frankly unspeakable things that they have done, or at least Kamoshida as of right now. But the idea that the protagonist would even, you know, have somewhat of a blemish on his conscience because of the stuff that he's doing is, like, too much for them to bear. So I guess what I'm saying is that I'm calling the scriptwriters cowards in this case. I could also probably say something about how they're using a model gun instead of a real gun, but I think that's actually just realistic because it's taking place in Japan. From what I understand, even if you are a for real, like, serious criminal, you generally don't have much ability to get anything like that. From what I remember, I think it was in Yakuza 2, that a major plot point was that one of the titular Yakuza, like back in the 80s or something, managed to get his hands on a box of handguns, and this was treated like an absolutely shocking, insane thing. Like, how could somebody have that much power? And also, speaking of which, yeah, that drug's so potent it can give a person unlimited power, which is, again, she's not making any sort of illegitimate, addictive, dangerous drugs. She's creating you know, super soldier serum so that she can make more Captain American type of people. Drug like that will only become a social issue. That's right, she's not, it's not anything about, like, the actual danger that selling this stuff to people could be. It's the fact that you could create a drug so good that it upsets the social balance, the natural order of the, yeah. But the point is, it's like, she is very much a legitimate doctor. And I'm sure I'm going to be seeing a whole lot more of her in the future. Got her own, she definitely has her own confidant link, and I'm going to be trying to do as many of those as possible, so this is kind of like just a first little taste of exactly what that storyline is going to be. I mean, why that has to happen right now is a good question, but here we are. I mean, usually when you have minor secondary characters, you generally don't get to know about them in, say, like a television show. If you have Jimmy, who is just some extra who appears in the background working on the dilithium crystal reactor for 2 seasons, you wait like 2 seasons before you give him any background, any sort of background or like characterization. Not before we're even done with the very first intro plot line here, the very first palace.
Yeah.
But that ain't how Persona goes. Anywho, I did manage to grab a bunch of medicine that is just the party heals, because those are very difficult to It's very difficult to do any sort of party heals if you're getting attacked from a party attacking type of skill at this early in the game. I mean, eventually I'll get healing skills that heal the entire party, but for right now, that's going to be the most effective way to do it. Which is why I want to stock up on as much of those as possible. I'm sure if I knew what the first boss, if he did some sort of a specific status effect, if I knew what that would be, I would probably be preparing for that, but no idea. So, yeah. I have to wait until that point. Also, keeping the Phantom Thieves a secret, it's like, I still say should be telling everybody. Like, literally everybody. Show everybody the Mind Palace that has been created here. Which, now that I think about it, I'm fairly certain that... Is that what the palace is actually supposed to be? Like a memory palace type of thing? I mean, it is actually called palace in Japanese, so... Maybe... I don't know. I don't know how widespread that type of idea is, if it can make it into this sort of game for that sort of a subtle pun, but... maybe. Let's just say that. I mean, no. I mean, it's going smoothly in the sense that if we're on a very rocky road where, you know, driving 2 miles an hour, I guess it's a really smooth drive. We'll be there in 3 to 6 hours at this rate. Morgana, are you... it's still kind of questionable as to if Morgana is a real person or not. I suppose I will withhold judgment until later in the game, but... In the meantime, I guess I can just get some sleep. After all, I got a big day of shopping tomorrow. As you know, in the Persona universe, going down to the gas station to get a candy bar takes a full 24-hour period. It's just how it works. Oh yes, and it's also 420 coming up soon. So I guess doubly good that I made friends with Takemi now, because those sort of connections will be very useful coming up soon. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, it was 420 just a couple days ago as well, so I could have been playing in-game 420 on 420. Totally missed out on it. Oh well, I suppose next year, when the next episode of this series comes out, I'll line that up a little bit better. Oh yes, also this politician. He has his own character portrait, he has his own voice acting. He's also talking about things that Igor has said, that the intro said all the way back. Yeah, and besides, like, hearts, the hearts that we're stealing here are described as like distorted desires of an evil-doing person or whatever, so... Makes me think that either that dude is going to be, you know, a social link, or perhaps like a later boss, or maybe even the final boss of the game. Got my suspicions because when you think about it, right now, we're just going after, like, well, I guess you could say a minor evildoer. He is your teacher, but he has done some pretty terrible things. But the idea that it could escalate, especially if we're kind of going off the theory that this is like a over-the-top version of like what a teenager is seeing as something that's evil. Like looking at a politician, you know, evil on a national level would only make sense. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. Maybe that dude was put there as sort of a, hey, if you're playing this game for the second time, you'll recognize this dude. I don't know. It felt like there was like just enough time. He was on screen for just enough time and had enough detail that it's like, notice this, but it was also not long enough that you would think much of it. Unless you're somebody like me who has to comb over every single frame of this video. That's when you start to notice this stuff. Anyway, here's Shopkeeper Dude. He's probably not going to be a social link like Takemi is going to be. He doesn't really seem to have quite the similar sort of backstory. I mean, he's just running a shop that seems to be barely legal, if it is legal at all. I mean, it has, like, model guns in the windows, and... Ryuji, come on. Automatic sounds exact... Automatic is exactly what it sounds like. I mean... It's like, I know you're in Japan, and you're not, like, in the great United States here, where that sort of thing would be second knowledge to you. But it's like, just think of the gun like a garden hose, except instead of spraying out water, it sprays out bullets. It's very simple. Exactly what you'd think it would be. Unless you think what a gun would be something like a turret that automatically shoots people or something, I guess. No, but that makes no sense at all. Anyway. Yes. Pretty simple story. He's got his own splash screen, voice acting, character portrait, but there doesn't really seem to be too much else going on with the dude. Unlike Takemi, who definitely had a deeper story being explained there. Extremely blatantly. Anyway, yeah, cool. Now, he doesn't actually just sell guns, though. He also sells, like, melee weapons, too, which, from a gameplay standpoint, that makes a lot of sense, but it's still kind of goofy that we're going through all this rigmarole to, you know, explain the specifics of handling a model gun, where it's like, oh, I also sell, like, model claymores, too. You want to check those out? Anyway, yeah. It's very obvious. I'm not gonna say we hate cuffs. That's stupid. Real guns feel different. I mean, this is a video game. How would I know that? And it's not like we're gonna be handling real guns, unless maybe that's the ultimate gun in the game. An actual handgun. It's like when Arsene is going to learn the ultimate move. Push a drunk guy down. Yeah, I don't think we're going to have too much money to be able to buy just about anything right now, Ryuji. Although, can't remember if it was this save or the English game save. I did just pretty much buy him the fanciest gun. I decided, you know, hey, let's kind of go good by his wishes. Why not? Anyway, another quick cut. Not even speeding that one up. Just get out of here. Although I think I did just give one more second to kind of look at what was going on, in case there was something else that I wanted to, like, save up for or make sure I had enough money for. Perhaps. Oh yeah, I also didn't even comment on it, but it seemed to be that Hunk was in the background there from the Fourth Survivor. I mean, now that RE2 had the remake recently, it's like, I think that people should know who Hunk is again, right? Whatever. Oh yeah, more talk about this. Just kind of sprinkling it in occasionally. Yes. Completely alters personality. Can't speak because their bed's on fire. Don't touch him. He's a real live wire. He's a psychotic breakdown. Qu'est-ce que c'est? We're not even actually sure what it is at all anyway. So, I mean, it's weird because last time we had a very similar type of scene like this, I completely went for Fleetwood Mac lyrics. Wow, it's just time's a flat circle, isn't it? Anyway, come on. Again, heightened reality. That's what this has to be, because nobody would talk like that unless it was explicitly supposed to be like a satirism or something. Like, look at that. Anywho. Oh, Sakura. You probably I probably should be, like, doing dishes for him, though, or something. And basically, I'm working essentially part-time for the guy to a certain extent. None of these, again, I don't know why they keep forcing me to be rude to this guy. I don't want to be rude to Sakura. But the game decides otherwise. And I'm going to go with the less rude one here. Then what are you gonna do, old man? You're gonna be out on the streets. Oh yeah! Snap into a Slim Jim. Alright. No annoyances. I mean, I know that he got paid for taking care of me, but it seems like he must have gotten paid a lot if, you know, he's just some dude that wants to be left alone, and he took in a kid. Of course, we all know that he's an old softy regardless, but there's still an interesting juxtaposition here between his words and actions. I do wonder if we are going to eventually see a bit more of a storyline develop with Sakura, though. I mean, as of right now, we just know his general personality and what he's doing in his life, but unless something really bombastic happens, I don't really see how that's going to change too much over time. I mean, as I've said before, it seems like he's kind of already gone through his whole character arc of having his icy heart melt after taking care of this delinquent kid. But who knows, maybe he's just supposed to be the rock, the cornerstone of the game, where regardless of what sort of things are happening in your world, you can always pretty much set your watch to the fact that you're gonna come back and see Sakura being curmudgeon-y at something. And that's how you know that everything's right with the world. Hey Sakura, do you still hate your customers? Great. then the universal balance has not been thrown out of whack. Alright, hey, finally getting a little bit more stuff cleaned up. I assume that over the course of the game here, this is going to turn from a completely derelict, terrible attic of a shop to something slightly presentable. Maybe like a somewhat low-class B&B type of thing. Alright, finally getting to the infiltration tools. About time. And Morgana, of course. I mean, I know that this is realistic as to what a cat does, but usually you can't tell a cat not to go full spread eagle in front of you all the time. It just happens anyway. Oh well, I suppose main character will learn to live with it. Anywho, getting lockpicks. I mean, they do pretty much exactly what you think it is, but it's like, hey, it's a good way to start this out. And also shows that you do get some pretty substantial, I mean, meta stats. These aren't like things that are going to actually help me in the RPG section of the game. But it's not just the one. It's apparently like several points being put into something. So unlike previous games where kind of assembling a little mecha or something in your room might up your stats a little bit, this seems to be a notable improvement into your stats. And also you get items that you can use in dungeons, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's something a little bit different. Did it really require that much explanation? I don't know, but here we are. Yeah, getting kicked out of school, etc., whatever. I decided not to say good morning just because that would sound super sarcastic, and it's just like, come on. Come on. I guess he didn't have any crimes to do. He was just there to intimidate you. Which is, on the crime scale, a pretty minor one, all things considered. Ryuji, again, doing my favorite. You know what I'm going to say. Well, yeah, obviously. And I do think maybe next time there might be a little bit, might be past the intro and getting into actual gameplay, but I'm not going to say that for certain yet. Yeah. I mean, can I get a third option that says, please, can we just do it already? I don't know. I mean, in previous games, you could go in solo if you wanted to. I mean, you would have to choose, like, if you just chose to take none of your party members. In fact, that was a thing in fighting the ultimate secret boss of Persona 3, where you had to go by yourself, which is absurd for a turn-based RPG, but they did it anyway. Boy, that was something else. From what I understand, the FES version made it a lot easier. Oh, by the way, I didn't add in that little graphical effect that was actually in the game, even though it looks like that was something that I added into the video. It's cheesy. I mean, I kind of like it. I kind of like that effect because it's so cheesy, but at the same time, boy, does it look cheesy. Anyway. Yeah, I got you. Got 2 weeks here, and like I said, not gonna take that long. All right, let's go. I'm ready for this. Of course, considering it's only a half hour into the video and I said that this was going to be chock-a-block 45 minutes full of tutorials. Oh, guess what happens the second we get in there. Ah, yes. Before we can even go into the palace, we do first need to restate all of the objectives we need to accomplish, because this is Persona, and that's how Persona rolls. It's just kind of their whole wheelhouse at this point. In short, pretty much Kamoshida's going to go before the school board or whatever on May 2nd, petition for our expellation. And before we do that, we got to steal his distorted desires, taking the form of the core at the middle of his palace. And if we do that, his palace will be destroyed, he will have his heart purified, or at least feel guilty about what he's doing, enough so that go confess to the police and get thrown in prison, and that's ballgame. And we already know that that's going to happen because Najima has said that he is, in fact, in prison right now. So it's all kind of a foregone conclusion. By the way, if you were actually wondering like how the whole Japanese study portion of this series is going, you know, kind of the whole jumping off point, along with the fact that I wanted to play Persona 5, it's actually pretty good. Reading sense is a lot smoother. Understand, not nearly as much looking up individual words or kanji. And I also can actually use a Japanese keyboard now, which is a nice little bonus, I suppose. Still not great on comprehension. I think what I'm going to have to eventually do is like give my own translation, or what I think a sentence... Ryuji, come on. What I think a sentence is, and then compare it to the official one. Either way, by the time that this series finishes in 2025, I think I'll be in a much better place than I was when I first started this, which is good. Anyway, back to code names. I mean, does it really matter that much? Morgana seems to think so, but Morgana is also very much in love with the idea that you get to be... Oh, I missed a line there. Morgana is also very much in love with the idea of being shadow thieves, so, you know. Cat girl, kitty woman, sure, good enough. Pretty much anything except for sexy cat. And this is actually another scene similar to the one where Ryuji was choosing his name, being called Skull, where there's a few little differences in the Japanese versus the English text here. Yeah, Anne says that she wants to be called Panther, using Pansa, Japanese... or the English pronunciation of it. Ryuji doesn't ask why. He specifically asks, what does that mean? And she says the name in Japanese, what you would call a panther in Japanese. Morgana says, oh, you want to be called Panther Woman? And she says, no, I want to be called Panther. It's like, it's understandable. Only slightly different, but hey, they got that good cougar pun in there, I suppose. It's not. It's never gonna be. Oh, what's all that? You want to actually go into the palace? Well, I think you'll find that very difficult when we force you into the Velvet Room right now. And of course, like a real goober, the main character completely goes along with this. Oh great, I'm back in the jail cell. This is exactly what I wanted when I did this. Well, as usual, I don't think anything of much real plot interest is going to be happening in the Velvet Room. I mean, it's usually just about kind of getting a new mechanic or getting a general idea of the plot. Also, thanks to JC Denton. Never asked for this, eh? Ah, yes, and this is a perfect example of it. Not attempting to withhold information from you. However, I am going to be withholding information from you. It's like, yeah, that's Igor in a nutshell, isn't it? Well, anyway, I think the real thing that I'm going to be doing here this time, if I remember correctly, is learning how to do persona fusing. It's something that's appeared in every one of the other games. Take two persona that you don't really want, or that are like lagging behind in levels, or aren't well suited for the current dungeon you're in, anything like that, and then mash them together into a new one. Hopefully one that's stronger, or at least one that's new for the Persona Compendium, if you like filling that out like I do. It's standard part of the game, but we're still getting a big old tutorial on it. And of course, it's like, before it was just flipping around cards to kind of combo them together. Here you have to execute the, it's like that. Anyway, don't worry, they're not actually gone, because, you know, you gotta sand that edge off. So I hope you liked seeing Arsene for the first part of the game here. He is going to leave until probably the very end of the game, where he comes back in some sort of super form to save the day or whatever. Yeah, that's right, the dude that's been on all the promotional material and is sort of the iconic persona of the main character is pretty quickly executed in the game. I mean, yes, it is like 8 hours into the game, but that's quickly in persona terms. Good stuff, good stuff. Look, man, I need a new, more powerful persona to take down I guess like taking down a psychotic breakdown syndrome by itself. Whoever's behind that, I'm assuming that it's probably not Kamoshida. Although that dude does seem to be evil enough to want to do that, I don't think he quite has that power. Now, the only real villains that have been introduced right now are... what, the police chief, I guess? Because he had that one scene where... he was scheming, basically. There's no lighter way to put that. He might as well have been doing, like, the spider fingers thing, and, like, cackling uproariously with how much he was looking villainous in that one shot. It's kind of ridiculous. Of course, I don't actually assume that he's the bad guy. I assume that he probably has some sort of way to enter the metaverse and is using that to steal the hearts of people that he doesn't like, or that it's convenient for him to do so, whatever. And he's probably got that power from some sort of higher being that had the ability to traverse the metaverse in the first place, and is just basically using him as a pawn. At least that's what I'm thinking for right now. In fact, that actually kind of brings me to a little bit of speculation here, which, you know, while we're just looking at how we're going to be turning Arsene into this weird pot demon. Sure, why not? So the thing that the police chief was scheming about at that point in time was that he was thinking about bringing Najima on board. And which means that he must have other people working for him at this point in time. And one of the things that we do know from the very start of the game is that one of the party members is going to betray me eventually. Eventually. I don't really know when or how or why. And I don't think Ryuji's going to. He seems to be totally in on this whole plan in the first place. And is... I don't know, she's pretty timid, and I feel like even if she didn't really agree with everything, that she wouldn't really be selling us out to the police in any way. There are, of course, more party members that are going to get introduced, but Morgana's still kind of a weird wild card. And the police chief is the only other person that we know that could possibly even have anything to do with a... Oh yeah, look at this now. Police chief is the only person that we know that could possibly have anything to do with the metaverse as of right now, so maybe Morgana was somebody that was working with him. That, you know, something terrible happened or unexpected, got turned into a cat, and maybe lost his memories, or just quote-unquote lost his memories, and then later sells out the main characters to the police. I don't know, it was just something that I was thinking about. I mean, after all, Morgana is sort of a weird character that doesn't seem to remember anything, and also talks like an old man, you know, somebody that could be on the police force for a while, that could have been working with the police chief. I don't know. It just, I'm just saying, if it turns out that that's actually the case, I'm going to be pretty happy that I saw that coming, because, you know, there's nothing better than to know that you called it that hard. Of course, we'll see in time. And don't tell me in the comments if I did guess it. I want to be surprised. Anyway, yes. Gather great many, execute them, because... you know, like I guess I was saying that the main character, you know, doesn't seem to have that much of a dark side. I guess everything that he's doing to these poor persona that are, you know, really just living their life as best they can. Sure, they might be in a bad situation, but they do at least seem to be, like, intelligent and can talk with you and everything. Just gonna haul them in here, execute them, and turn them into slaves. So, thanks. So good stuff, good stuff. This game is weird. Of course, that's also kind of the thing that I like about the whole Persona series. Just like the fact that it is quite the weird series in a lot of ways. Got a gift for you. The gift of friendship. Which, I mean, let's be honest, the best gift that you can possibly get. And get the side eye. Or Sado eye, which I assume that means side eye, right? I don't know. I didn't pay attention. I was doing this in the English version. But yeah. That just allows you to basically, well, you know, I just made the reference to Deus Ex, Human Revolution before. It gives them the big old gold filter on the screen and tells you what objects you can interact with. Surprisingly apropos. Believe you can handle it now. Yeah, because I've had so much experience up to this point. No, I'm not trying to withhold information from you. The biggest lie that Igor ever told. Anyway, first thing, let's check out the bed. Get a little bit herky-jerky there. That was actually something that I didn't mention when I was in the clinic earlier in the episode here. But when you go from doing a cutscene in that area, yeah, this is the same sort of dialogue they got at the very beginning of the game. Yeah, when you went from cutscene with Takemi to the actual like store section, when I was editing that, I actually noticed that the character he's shown standing in the middle of the room for one frame before Takemi fades into existence, and then he's shown sitting back down in the seat. It looks super janky, but it's also like, I don't know. That's just a weird thing I noticed when I was editing this, basically. Go back and look at it yourself. The YouTube controls are comma and period will allow you to move forward and backwards one frame at a time. Fun thing if you ever want to watch like a horror game or something and check out each one of the screamers in extreme detail. Usually how I use that. Alright, so we got another mysterious message from that one character. Still have no idea what it means, but you know. Yeah, what am I supposed to do? Fuse a couple more Persona right now? It's not like I had a whole lot to start with. And now I have one. Yeah. Alright, good stuff. Trade out my cool Persona to a guy in a pot. And I mean, you weren't, were you? That might also have something to do with the fact that he doesn't ever talk or anything like that. Thanks, Morgan. After I just... all these nice compliments after I just maybe tried to assume that you were the traitor to the group. I mean, I'm not saying that that's actually the case. I'm just saying, if I was going to choose one, Ryuji was already pretty suspicious of you. Alright, so pretty much from this point, next time might be starting gameplay. Only gotten a little bit into it, but it seems like it. Well, we'll see.